Hello, my name is Stephen, and this is my final task for the study comparison. So this is the part 1. Wingsuits are not very new, are they? Well, no, but the modern ones are better than ever. Last October was the first ever wingsuit world championship in China. You can buy a wingsuit for $600 to $2,000. The water distiller is for place where it's hard to get clean drinking water. To produce the water distiller properly, they still need help with investment to start producing the distiller properly. The enable talk gloves were invented by some Ukrainian students to allow people with speech and hearing impairments to communicate with people who don't understand sign language. The gloves use sensor to turn sign language into text and then into spoken language using a smartphone. James Cameron was a part of a team which designed a submarine capable of descending to the lowest parts of the sea, 10 kilometers down. James Cameron was the first person to do a solo dive there, and he stayed for 3 hours, the longest time so deep under the sea. MIT students have invented a product that helps people get the content out of you to use a coat, glass, or plastic bottle, and then what's inside here and mustard, or whatever comes out really easily. This is the part 2. Once upon a time, there was a poor miller who had 3 sons. The years went by and the miller died, leaving nothing but his mill, his donkey, and a cat. The eldest son took the mill, the second-born son rode off on the donkey, and the youngest son inherited the cat. "Oh well," said the young son, "I'll eat this cat, and make some mittens out of his fur. Then I will have nothing left in the world and shall die of hunger." The cat was listening to his master complain like this, but he was pretend not to have heard anything. Instead, he put on a serious face and said, "Do not look so sad, master. Just give me a bag and a pair of boots, and I will show you that I did not receive such a poor interest in me." The cat master had often seen him play a great many cunning tricks at cat, rats, and mice, and when he used to hang by heels or hide himself in a grain and pretend to be dead, thinking is over, he thought that it wasn't impossible that the cat could help him after all. So he gave the cat his bag and spent his last pennies on ordering a fine pair of boots to be made especially for the cat. The cat looked very gallant in his boots, and putting his bag around his neck, he held the strings of it twisted to 4 paws and a levy by a rabbit warren, which was home to a great many rabbits. He put bran and corn into his bag, and stretching everywhere that waited for some young rabbits, still not acquainted with some disease of the world, to come and rummage his bag for the bran and corn. Not long after he lay down, he had what he wanted. A rat and a foolish young rabbit jumped into his bag, and the monster puss immediately drew close the strings and caught him. Proud of his prey, he went with the palace and asked to speak with his majesty. He was shown upstairs into the king's apartment, and making a long bow, said to him, "I have brought you, sir, a rabbit of the warren, with my noble lord, the Marquis of Carabas." For that, the title puss was pleased to give his master, "Has commanded me to present to your majesty from him." "Tell the master," said the king, "that I thank him, and he does me a great deal of pleasure." So this is the last part, part 3. There was some time ago a gentleman who has very rich. He had fine town and country houses. His dish and his plate were all of gold or silver. His room were hung with damask, his chair and sofas was covered with the richest silks, and his carriages were all given with gold in a grand style. But it happened when this gentleman had a blue bird, which made him so very frightful and ugly, that most of the ladies, in part when he lived, would venture to go his company. Now, where he was a certain lady of rank, who lived very near him, and two daughters, both of them very great beauty. Bluebeard asked her to bestow one of them upon him for a wife, and left to himself to choose which of the two to be. But, but both the young ladies again and again they said would never marry Bluebeard, yet to be as civil as they could. Each of them said the only reason why she would have him was because he was slow to hinder her sister from maths, which would be a such good one for her. Still, the truth of the matter was, they could neither of them bear the thought of having husband with a bluebird, and besides, they had heard of his having been married to several wives before, and nobody could tell what had ever become any of them. The bluebird wished very much to gain her favor. He asked the lady and her daughter, and some ladies who were on a visit at their house, to go get him, and to one of his country seats, where they spent a whole week, during which they passed all their time in nothing but parties for hunting and fishing, music, dancing, and fish. No one even thought of going to bed, and night were passed in merry making of all kind. In short, the time rolled on in so much pleasure that the youngs of the two sisters began to think that the bird which he had been so much afraid of was not very blue, and that the gentleman who owned it were vastly civil and pleasing. Soon after they returned home, she told her mother that she had no longer any dislike to accept of Bluebird for her husband. In a very short time, they were married. About a month after the marriage had taken place, Bluebird told his wife that he should be forced to leave her for a few weeks, as he had some affairs to attend to in the country. When Bluebird was gone, the friend of his wife did not wait to be asked, so eager were they see all the riches and the fine things he had gained by marriage, for they had none of them of the wedding, on account of their dislike a Bluebird of the breast room. When she reached the door of the closet, she stopped for a few moments to think of the order of her husband had given her, and how he told her that he would not fail to keep his word, and punish her every severally if she did not obey him. These were all the wives whom Bluebird has married, and killed one after account shortly. At his sight, she was ready to shrink with fear, and the next key of the closet door, which she held in her hand, fell on the floor. The next morning, he asked her for the key. She gave him to tell him, but as she could not help showing her fright, Bluebird easily guessed what had been the matter. "How is it," said he, "that the key of the closet upon the ground floor not here?" In the meanwhile, Bluebird was a great scimitar in his hand, bowed as loud as he could to his wife. "Come down at once, or I will fetch you." The poor wife was almost as dead as her husband, was not able to first to rise and embrace her brother, but she soon came to herself, and as Bluebird had no heirs, she found herself at the owner of his great riches. She gave a part of his vast fortune of his marriage dowry to her sister Anna, who soon after became wife of a young gentleman who had long loved her. Some of the money she laid out in buying captain's commission for her two brothers, and the rest she gave to a worthy gentleman whom she married shortly after, and whose kind treatment soon after her forget Bluebird.